So, autism. It's a spectrum. We all know that. There are what we used to call high-functioning, and there are low-functioning people. And we now know that it's a lot more complicated than that. But there are still non-speaking folks. There are hyperlexic folks. There are sensory seekers, those that move recklessly into big sensory experiences. And we have sensory avoiders, people who can't stand loud noises, buzzing lights, tags on clothes, things like that. I'll tell you that after 15 years in the field of autism, working with as many as 50 families a week, that the primary suffering happening to autism families is not the autism itself. It's the community's inability to interact with the family. It's even reflected in the term itself, autism, auto, Greek for the self, autism, locked within the self. It's the definition of isolation. Researchers are hard at work looking for a cure for autism. They're looking for a biological marker or a treatment that works. In the meantime, 1 in 64 kids born today and 1 in 44 boys will be diagnosed with the disorder. And here's our radical idea, but I'm going to warn you, it's going to make you uncomfortable. When we recognize that a stressed brain is flooded with cortisol, and when that brain chemically is biologically designed to shut down the intellect. Let's say that again because it's pivotal here. When a stressed brain is constantly bombarded with cortisol, the brain chemical that by design shuts down the intellect and puts us in flight or fight mode, the only logical treatment is to de-stress the physical and the human environment. We in North America and also in most parts of Europe have this pathological aversion to indulging a child. It makes us uncomfortable. Our fear is that we could be raising an indulgent, spoiled tyrant that will never have any friends because they're imperious and demanding. And so we demand that our kids toe the line and buck up and get with the program. We reward kids in school and in sports that act the most like responsible adults. We give all the accolades to the kids that are results-driven, that are organized, the ones who talk like Philadelphia lawyers. So now there's this child, and he's saddled with this thing we barely understand that we currently call autism, and he's stressed by sounds, by the challenge of human emotions he can't process. He's struggling with toilet training and tummy aches. His sleep patterns are disrupted. His parents are under constant stress from the schools, from their own families, from differing therapist, educator, and doctor's opinions. The next thing you know, this child's rolling on the ground in the grocery store, banging her head in the floor. And culturally, and even professionally, we tell these parents, don't give in to a tantrum, or we just glare at the seemingly incompetent parent. Panic and anxiety, they chemically cripple the brain. But there's hope. There's a bright spot in all of this.
And now go get it.
The literal antidote for cortisol is oxytocin. It's the feel-good hormone. And there's numerous tests going on right now using synthetic oxytocin to soothe a disrupted sensory system, and their results are really encouraging. But we have the science that tells us how to optimize our own body's production of oxytocin. Second only to the letdown of breast milk in a nursing mother, oxytocin is produced best not in the brain. Folks, let's note that. Not in the brain, but in the rhythmic swinging motion of the hips. Think about it. What do we do to soothe a crying baby? We rock that baby, rhythmically back and forth. And when that doesn't do the trick, we swing and bounce and we rock that baby, and maybe we throw in a little spin. And suddenly, we're dancing. Dancing, walking hand in hand on a beach, swinging arms, swinging on a porch swing on a hot summer night, laughing with our friends on the swing set. These are our fondest memories, the ones that soothe us and calm us, and bubbling up from there, our best ideas come forth. For me professionally, we can put a child on a calm horse, a horse whose heartbeat is about 34 beats per minute, and rock him for hours. In the saddle, conversations occur. Singing happens, and here's the important part. The intellect of that disrupted brain is able to operate. And you know what we talk about? We talk about that person's intrinsic interest. I'm a 50-year-old woman who can tell you more about Pokemon, beluga whales, cat breeds, and Minecraft than you might imagine. By leaning into that person's interest, oxytocin takes over, and the cortisol response finally dampens. When you take a cortisol-soaked brain out of a negative cycle of panic and anxiety, and when you optimize that body to produce oxytocin, and then you add a dash of sunshine, you take away the man-made sensory assault of fluorescent lights, chemical cleaning smells, and motor vehicle noise. When you take away the human demands for eye contact and the expectations that someone is going to get better, and then you add the finishing touch of an animal that is present, who's fundamentally kind and interested in you, and what you get is not just an amelioration of the most distressing autistic behaviors. What you get is the beauty of that person without the albatross of anxiety hanging around their neck. Working with autism families and with rescued horses constantly shows me that our current notion of therapy lacks one critical point, and that point is dignity. Allowing someone to be their unique, quirky self is my path to wholeness as I stumble and fumble my way through this beautiful life. Movement method, this idea to create a human and physical environment with as few sensory triggers as possible to create and hold an optimal space for the reduction of panic and anxiety, and then to let the self unfold in as much acceptance and joy as we can muster on a daily basis, sounds like a new age hippie nirvana. But the brain science plays out, and the humanity that we see on a daily basis cannot be denied. Our dangerous idea is for this respect for the physical and psychological need for a disrupted brain to unfold in a space of serenity and an absence of sensory and emotional triggers is anything but an indulgence. It's the only logical, intelligent, and humane path.